Hello everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Review tab in Microsoft Office. This tab is handy. It gives us some buttons to help us review our paper before we're ready to submit. This Review tab includes buttons that can be used for both an MLA and an APA formatted paper. So you've finished writing your paper and you're ready to review it before you submit it. One of the first things you can check is your spelling and grammar. To access this button, you just click on the Review tab at the top. The Spelling and Grammar button is located to the left. It's the first button in the strip. So clicking on this button will automatically show you what spelling and grammar mistakes you've made. So the box pops up saying Word finished checking the selection. You click yes, and it'll automatically start popping up and showing you all the spelling and grammar mistakes you've made. So for example, the first one that popped up was Kanye West, and this was a paper written by a pair of my students. It was a paper written about online piracy and downloading music illegally. So the paper mentioning Kanye West is typical for my students. So the Microsoft Office dictionary obviously did not recognize the word Kanye as a real word because it's somebody's name. So in this case, you can click the Ignore Once button, or you can click Ignore All. And so I know that my students probably mentioned this person's name throughout the whole paper. I'm going to click the Ignore All button. And what this does is tell the document to ignore any instance of the word Kanye. Another name popped up in this paper, the name Shakira. And again, we know that Shakira is the name of a music artist. So again, I'm going to click the Ignore All button. So the paper has now told me that the spelling and grammar check is complete. There aren't any grammar mistakes and there's no more spelling mistakes. So this is one way to proofread your paper before you submit. The next tool we're going to look at is the Research tool. This is mostly used for people who want to check dictionary, reference materials, encyclopedias online. When my students were writing this paper, they had issues with the word pirate. When they heard the word pirate, they automatically assumed a pirate who sells the 7 seas. I had to explain to them that a pirate has a double definition. So, if I go back to the first page, here's the word pirates. I'm going to type it here in the box, and I'm going to click Go. And what it does is it first gives me a thesaurus entry, and a pirate is means to copy illegally as a verb, but it can also mean a buccaneer, and that's what my students originally thought first. So they learned that pirate means to copy illegally, and someone who copies music is considered a pirate. So that's an example of how you can use the Research tool. The next tool is the Thesaurus tool. This is an excellent tool when you notice that you're using the same word over and over again in your paper, and you want to avoid doing that. That's what I tell my students. So they noticed that they were using the word think a lot. I think, because they were writing an argumentative paper and they were trying to persuade their audience. So I showed them they could use the Thesaurus tool. So you just click on the word and then click the Thesaurus button. What it does is it automatically pops up on the right-hand corner and gives you suggestions of other words you could use in place of the word that you were originally using. So instead of think, they could say I believe, or I imagine, or I consider. So then they can replace the word that they're using too often with another word, and they still have the same meaning. The last tool we're going to look at is the word count. If a teacher assigns a paper and requires a certain amount of words as part of the rubric, then students can check their word count. So I always tell my students not to include their heading in their word count. Instead, they should highlight the document. So the first and easiest way to do that is to click at the top of the paper and scroll all the way down until you've reached the end of your paper. Then, under the Review tab, it's a smaller button, not as large as the other 3. You click the Word Count button. When the box pops up, it shows you how many pages you have, how many words you have, the characters, the paragraphs, and the lines. Most professors or teachers will ask for a specific amount of words or pages, so you mostly just focus on the first 2 lines here. So in this instance, my students were required to write 2 pages. I didn't ask for a word count. However, if I did, this is how they would know how many words they were at. So, this is a great tool to use if you're ever writing a paper and you want to double check before you turn it in. I know as a teacher of high school students, I'm always telling my students to edit their work, and the review tab includes some excellent tools on helping them edit their work before they turn it in.